I'm not going to read it all. I'm just going to read you a little bit of this. We'd moved out into the bush we had 8 acres. We were living out in the bush about 8 miles from Cape Town. So Dave could commute into the theatre. Who's that peeping round the corner?
Willie.
Huh? Oh, it's Willie.
I'm not peeping. Peeping Willie.
So I came. So it was the end of winter. It was coming up for spring, and it was a hot, sunny day. Right. It was a warm, sunny day. It was probably like it's been here today for the end of winter in Cape Town. And so I thought, I'm going to get the paddling pool out for Pascal and the little boy next door, who was about the same age as her. And I'll fill it up with water and they can splash in the sun. So, the paddling pool was still where it had been from the end of the summer before, in a pile of sand which I'd bought for her to play and make sandcastles the previous summer. The pile of sand had dirt and twigs all over it. I'd have to clean it up. So I'd walked out in my old blue shorts and flip-flops and an old t-shirt in the morning. I'd have to clean it up. The paddling pool was looking a bit grubby and flat too. Still, it could be scrubbed out and pumped up, and then I'd fill it with buckets of warm water. I yanked it up and stepped backwards into the sand. That's when I felt it. A searing pain in my right foot, which shot up the back of my leg. I dropped the pool and looked back to where my foot had been. There it was, a pink scorpion about 3 inches long, with its tail arched. I trod on it with my bare flip-flop feet, and I'd been stung in my right heel. In that moment, I knew for sure I only had a short time to live, unless I got an antidote. The nearest medical centre was 7 miles away. I'd never make it in time. My brain seized in panic, and then suddenly I was racing across the yard, running through the kitchen and into the bedroom in 2 leaps. Now Dave, he'd been at the theatre, so he was late, so he got up late, right, so he was fast asleep. Dave was fast asleep on the double bed. He would normally sleep for another couple of hours before getting up slowly, doing a few chores, and then driving off to whichever school they were performing in. I screamed loudly, "Dave! Dave! I've been stung by a scorpion! I've got 10 minutes to live! Help! Help!" I was sobbing hysterically by now. My first screams made Dave sit bolt upright in bed. He looked at me dazed, like he was dreaming. "Get up!" I screamed. "Do something! I've only got 10 minutes to live!" He looked at me stupidly. "What do you mean, 10 minutes to live?" "What? How?" "I've been stung by a scorpion! I trod on it by the pool!" His questions were making me even more hysterical. "Get up! Drag me to the medical centre!" "But it's 7 miles away." That's more than 10 minutes. We looked at each other. "What else can we do? Get me there now!" I was sobbing. He leapt out of bed. "Go start the car." He was talking loudly. I ran outside and saw Jakob, who's the kind of guy who runs the pickup truck to pick up cars, who lives next door. I saw Jakob in his pickup truck. His partner, Dawn, was standing by. I screamed to Jakob, my words staccato, big gasping breaths in between. "Jakob! Been stung by a scorpion! Have to get to the med centre fast!" The words were punctuated by large sobs. Jakob was not a man who wasted words. "Get in the truck! He was already revving it up. "I'll drive you there." "Yeah," Dawn caught on my urgency fast. "He's a really fast driver. He'll get you there in minutes." Dave was rushing from the house in his shorts, pulling on his shirt. Di, it was my friend Di, who was staying with us, was close behind, roused by all the yelling. "Dave, Jacob's going to take me. He can drive fast." I was still sobbing and tying a tight rag of cloth as a tourniquet round the top of my calf. I was thinking, mustn't let the poison spread up my leg. If it gets to my heart, I'll die. Pain felt like it was burning up my leg from my foot into my ankle. Dave said, "OK, get going. I'll phone the med centre." Di was fussing over Pass, who was getting upset, calling, "Mummy, Mummy, me come too." "It's OK," Di said, smiling down at her. "We'll go make some cakes, shall we?" She grabbed Pass's hand. "You stay here with me. Mum's got to rush. She'll be back soon." Dave interrupted, his face grim. "I'll let them know you're coming." I jumped in the truck, waving goodbye to Pass, putting on a full smile to reassure her, as Jakob burnt rubber. "See you later, Pass," I shouted just before the truck leapt down the track, skimming over the bumps with dust flying in clouds behind us. I was thinking, will I ever see her again? I was too caught up in the drama of it all, wondering if I was going to live to cry. Well, of course, there's bits and pieces throughout the book, apart from our own personal dramas, about some of the characters we met, both black and white, and how they existed. And we did move from there to a mixed race area, which was more, wasn't, you see, you have to understand that in South Africa, black people live in tribal areas, mixed race people live in their own areas, Indian people live in their own areas, and whites live in their own areas. It's all quite delineated. But there were some areas which were mixed, where both, but you didn't tend to get a lot of black tribal people there. You'd get mixed race and white people living on the whole, and Indian. It was all, you know, complicated. I can't even be bothered to explain, but you might pick up a little bit about how it is from the book, how it was, I should say. So after the farm, we moved to a place called Harfield Village, and we picked Harfield Village because it was one of the last mixed race areas in Cape Town, and as soon as we'd moved in, all the local mixed race kids started coming round to see Pascal. But it started with one, and so I start the chapter with a song they used to sing me. When I wake up in the morning light, I put on my blue jeans and I'm all right. I put my blue jeans on. I put my old blue jeans on. And the song goes on, and they used to do all the actions with it, all the kids. We had this little front garden. Thomas was the first to arrive when we moved into our new place. We'd chosen this Cape Town suburb not only because it was one of the last few remaining mixed race areas, but it was also within easy reach of the theatres and centre of Cape Town and all the lovely beaches around. It was the next suburb to Mowbray, where we'd lived before moving out to Philippi. So I knew the area quite well. I chatted to my Indian neighbours. Yes, they would have to move sometime, they said. But the removal policy seemed to have slowed down for the moment. Removal policy was the Group Areas Act, which the Afrikaans government had put in place some years before we'd moved there. And we're gradually moving each racial group into their own area. And there was a curfew enforced at night, on the whole. Well, it was, except for maids and servants, of course. Thomas just turned up at my garden gate one day. The house was a typical South African old-style bungalow with a low roof and a tiny front stoop. In the small front garden, walled on three sides, the already mentioned pomegranate tree was home to some praying mantis, those weird stick-like insects who swivel their heads 180 degrees to look at you, and you look back and get a weird sense that you are being closely observed. No other insect I've ever known does that to humans. They live on smaller insects, so they're quite good for the garden. "Hello, madam, how are you?" This little boy with a cheeky grin had appeared at the front garden gate, looking over the top bar with difficulty. He was about 7 or 8 years old, short curly hair, light brown skin, and a face filled with energy and life. He bounded through the gate and up to my door and shook my hand as if he'd known me for years. Through the doorway he spotted Pascal. He waved to her and she looked at him with interest. "What's her name?" "Pascal." "What?" he said. So I said it slowly. "But we call her Pass for short." "Okay, hi Pass." He was waving. His grin was totally infectious. She was grinning straight back at him. "Would you like to come in?" I asked rather unnecessarily, as he was already edging his way in. He looked around at this new environment. He gazed with interest at the fridge and the bread on the breadboard. "Oh," I said, "you hungry? Would you like a cheese sandwich?" He nodded hard and then turned his attention back to the room. I started cutting the bread, thick slices, and took out the cheese from the fridge. Wholemeal bread was sold here cheaper than white bread for the non-whites, to improve their nutrition, or so Peter had told us. "What's your name?" "Thomas, madam." "And where do you live?" "Orfield Village, other side." He waved vaguely behind him. That was as far as I got with my questions. He, on the other hand, had not finished with me. Thomas fired off a rapid series of questions. When did we move here? What was my name? Where did we come from? "England, eh? Where's that?" "A long way from here, across the ocean." "Yes, I heard of England. What's it like there?" "Well, that's a big question. It's cold for a start, and it rains quite a lot." "It rains here a lot." "Yes, but you have short winters. They last about 3 months, and usually it only rains for a month or so, and not every day. We get long winters. Sometimes it's cold for 7 or 8 or even 9 months of the year." "Do you get snow?" "I heard about snow. I saw a picture once." Sometimes I was cutting slices from the cheese block and putting them on the bread. But in London, where I come from, it doesn't snow much. He picked up a ball and started throwing it to Pass. She was running round trying to catch it and shrieking with delight. I told Thomas to sit down and handed him the sandwich on a plate. "So, where's your husband?" His voice was thick with bread and cheese. "At the theatre." "What's his work?" "He's an actor." He fell silent for a few seconds, considering this. "What does an actor do then?" "He gets up on a stage and plays parts in a show, and people come to watch." "Do they pay?" "Yes, they do." "So he's rich, right? Lots of money." I laughed. "No, he's not rich. Actors don't get a lot of money unless they go to Hollywood. He just about gets enough to feed us and pay the rent here." He looked dubious. After all, didn't everyone know all the whites were rich was in that look? He moved on to the next topic like lightning. "So, how old is Pass?" "She's 3. I interrupted his next question by shoving another sandwich into his hand. "Eat that, will you?" I poured him a glass of juice. "Now," I said, trying to regain control of the situation, "Pascal's going to bed in a minute, so then you must go. Do your parents know where you are?" He looked puzzled by the question. "I dunno," he shrugged and raised his palms up. "Well, they might be worried about you. It's not safe for a boy to be out so late in the dark." It was now about 9 p.m. "They don't mind." "Well, next time tell them where you're going, OK? Can I come back tomorrow?" "Yes, I suppose so. But you must tell your mum and dad, OK? "But I'm out every night. They never ask." "Just tell them or you can't come, all right?" "OK, madam. And don't call me madam, call me Anna." "OK, madam. Tomorrow I'll bring my friend Jake." "Oh, will you?" My eyebrows raised. Well, of course, he brought a whole tribe of kids, Thomas, and they came nearly every day. And I didn't mind because they played with Pass all the time, and she was quite happy. She had other kids to play with until she went to school. OK, I think we can have a little break, and I might do one more reading at the end. What's the time?